Hello viewers, and welcome to a new episode on our ongoing lecture series on media theories. Our topic of discussion today will be normative theories of mass media. It is a very integral part of journalism, and we have with us today Mrs. Shubha Das Mullik, who is a faculty of media studies. Hello ma'am.
Hello viewers.
I am Shantan Mukherjee, a student of media science. Now tell us ma'am, why do we need to study media theories at all?
Media theory, it refers to this complex of social, political and philosophical principles that help us organize our thinking, our understanding of how the media relates to society, or the interdependence of media and society. So without the help of media theories, it will be difficult for us to understand how the media springs from society and how it affects society in its turn, and so on. So today we will discuss one of the most fundamental, most important of media theories, which is the normative theory. Now, the normative theory is different from the other media theories because the normative theory doesn't deal with what the media is actually doing. Okay, it doesn't deal with observational methods, observational and analytical methods, but on the other hand, the normative theory deals with what the media ought to do, okay, rather than what it actually does, what the media is expected to do. All right, and it is said that this normative theory says that the behavior or the function of the media is determined or is outlined by the socio-political setup in which it operates. Okay, because you have different kinds of, you have a capitalist society, you have communist society, you have socialist states, all right, and in each of these setups, the media functions in slightly different ways. And the normative theory encompasses the various roles played by the media in, or expected to be played by the media in different societies. Now, where did the normative theories originate? The normative theories actually originated in a book called Four Theories of the Press. The book was released in the year 1956 at the height of the Cold War between the USA and the Soviet Union. And the book very quickly became a bestseller. It was reprinted in several languages. And today it is considered to be a Bible for all students of journalism. Some of the tenets of the book I read from here. The press takes on the form and coloration of the social and political structure within which it operates. The press and other media will reflect the basic beliefs and assumptions that the society holds. So that means, say, in the Western liberal tradition, what are the beliefs and ideas? It is the belief of equality before the law. It is the belief of freedom of speech. It is the belief of social solidarity, active participation in the process of development, and the press is expected to reflect that. But in different societies, in different cultures, the beliefs may be different, and the press will also take on different colors when it operates in a very different society. So therefore, these normative theories are more focused on the ownership and control of the press and the relationship between the press and the government. Okay, that is the main area of focus for the normative theories. The uses of normative theories, as I told you, that the normative theories have become Bibles for absolutely sacrosanct for all students of journalism, because normative theories tell the journalists that what are their social responsibilities and what they ought to do. So those are the very important uses of normative theories. And what are the major theories under these normative theories? The authoritarian theory, the libertarian theory, the social responsibility theory, and the Soviet media theory. These are the four theories as propounded in that book, Four Theories of the Press. These are the four theories, okay? But of course, later on, the normative theories have undergone modifications and expansions, so we will come to that. Now, because these theories were written at the height of the Cold War era, where the world was divided into the capitalist West, the communist East, and the underdeveloped South, okay, there were very sharp divisions in all the countries of the world could be divided very sharply into these three broad categories. But today the world scenario has changed, all right? And so therefore these normative theories are no longer all that powerfully valid, I would say, and there have been some critiques and some revisions of the normative theories. Now, one person who has given his own 4 normative theories, his name is Raymond Williams, and in his book Communications, he has given his Raymond Williams' 4 theories are authoritarian, paternal. Paternal means which is an authoritarian system with a conscience, we can say, commercial and democratic. Okay, so this is a kind of revised normative theory, you may say, which was given by Raymond Williams in his book Communications. All right, so normative theories can very broadly be categorized into non-democratic theories and democratic theories. Now, amidst the non-democratic theories, the first one is the authoritarian theory, which was prevalent during the era of absolute monarchy. Now, these ideas, today's ideas of democracy and freedom of speech, are actually comparatively very new ideas. All right. If you go to the medieval Europe or even early modern Europe, you will see that all the countries in Europe, all the states were ruled by what is known as absolute monarch. Okay. Now, who is an absolute monarch? A person who is a monarch by his hereditary right, and it is his divine right to be the king. Okay. As if he was born to be the king. Okay. God has destined him to be the king. Yes. And because he is the king by his divine right, nobody questions him. All right, so that's why they are called absolute monarchs. So naturally, in such an absolute monarchy, in a system of such absolute monarchy, you can't expect the press to be critical of the monarch. All right, the press always has to promote or always has to praise, has to be in praise of the monarch.
Absolutely.
All right. So in authoritarian, so that is where the authoritarian theory of the media applies. So in authoritarian theory, the press is not, the day-to-day publications of the press are not censored. But there is a general understanding that the press will always promote the cause of the state, will try to strengthen his state, will not do anything or say anything that will go against the interest of the state and of course against the interest of the monarch. All right. And if the press oversteps these overtly or covertly stated limits, then the government or the ruler has the right to withdraw the license of publication or censor or ban that particular publication or take the necessary steps or even punish the publisher.
A dictatorship of sorts.
In a dictatorship state, actually you will have this authoritarian theory of the press. Now this authoritarianism began to break down under the influence of some thinkers. Now how did it begin to break down? This is very interesting. In England, you have heard of John Milton. In the year 1644, he wrote a kind of pamphlet called Areopagitica. Now, what is this Areopagitica? Now, in 1643, the British Parliament, the Parliament in England, had come up with this licensing order because the monarchy and the Parliament were becoming very insecure that with the proliferation of the printing press, anybody was becoming a publisher and they were publishing anything. Okay. And much of which could easily go against the king. So out of this sense of insecurity, they gave this licensing order that only you need a license to become a publisher, and you have to follow certain norms. So that. Now John Milton didn't write that. So he didn't like that. So in the very next year, he wrote this Areopagitica where he said that who is the government to issue license? Who will get a license? Who will not get a license? How will you decide? And let everything come out in print and let the people decide. Okay, people are rational people, they are thinking people, so let them decide what is good and what is bad. So that's why he was the first person to speak in favor of this freedom of expression. All right. Then came Voltaire, who was a French philosopher, dramatist, satirist, etc., who wrote a number of plays, a number of satires, where he promoted this freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and he was very satirical against the French monarchy. Okay, in a very covert way through his satire, he criticized the French monarchy.
All right.
And Voltaire's ideas, in a way, triggered this French Revolution. He was one of the instruments of triggering this French Revolution because his plays and satires were quite popular. So therefore, Voltaire was another such free thinker. Now, some of the Voltaire's quotes, I read them out for you. To hold a pen is to be at war. What does it mean? That if you have a pen, it's your duty to be critical. Okay,
Yes.
to start a battle or, to start a war of words. Okay, you don't have to be always adulatory to the monarch.
Yes.
Okay, so that was the power of the pen. So this is what Voltaire said. Or he even said, think for yourself and let others enjoy the privilege to do so too. Okay, so you are a free thinker and let others also be free thinkers. Okay, so you enjoy your free thinking right and give the same right to the others. So these were some of Voltaire's ideas in an era when this free thinking was not fashionable.
Yes.
Okay, now in America, what was happening in America later on? Okay, Thomas Jefferson. So Thomas Jefferson was the third president of America, and he was the founding father of this declaration of America's independence. So he was also a free thinker, and he was one of the leaders that led America to wean away from British and become an independent nation. Okay, that was America's War of Independence all about. Okay, and Thomas Jefferson was one of the founding fathers. Interestingly, Thomas Jefferson was a great votary for freedom of religion. That anybody can pursue his religion. I mean, the state should not dictate what religion to pursue. This is because religion means Hinduism and Buddhism and Islam, he didn't have in mind. He basically had in mind is Catholicism and Protestant. That if you want, you can be a Catholic. If you want, you can be a Protestant. If you want, you can be a Methodist. This is what he had in mind. But this freedom of religion is continuing in America even today. And even today in America, you can be a Muslim or a Hindu or a Buddhist or anything.
True.
Okay, so the state doesn't dictate what religion to follow. So Thomas Jefferson was one of those early thinkers of secular state, not a religious state, but a secular state. So these thinkers actually, because of the influence of these thinkers, authoritarianism had to be revised, and slowly it gave way to what is known as libertarian theories. But before going into libertarian theories, let me add that authoritarianism revisited civilization again and again. Okay, the world did not become permanently free of authoritarianism. So can you tell me when did the world again see authoritarianism in a very big way?
If I had to guess, I would think the colonizers who colonized maybe India.
Okay.
That might be an example.
Definitely,
Yes.
definitely. But the colonizers were not so oppressively authoritarian.
They changed our
also,
religion. They made us.
They changed they
work for them.
coaxed you to change the religion. They didn't force anybody to change the religion.
Okay.
They didn't force anybody. Okay, but authoritarianism came in a big way during Nazi Germany.
I see.
In the Nazi era, it was totally an authoritarian. The media was totally functioning in an authoritarian system.
I see.
Okay, and in India we had authoritarianism, not so much in the British era, but during the 2 years of emergency, Indira Gandhi's rule.
Okay.
Okay, so
All
that
right.
was an internal emergency situation. It continued for 2 years, and the media, the press lost its freedom completely at that time. Okay, so those were the two unfortunate dark years in the history of independent India. Okay, so authoritarianism has revisited, even in the Islamic states also there is authoritarianism in some form or the other. And an extreme form of authoritarianism is totalitarianism, where in fact, during the emergency years, we had totalitarianism, where all the publications of the press were filtered through some kind of a censoring process. Understood? So, no uncensored thing could be published. There was some kind of censoring even for the daily newspaper. So, that is called totalitarianism. when Soviet Union was formed, the form of media, the practice of media, we call it the Soviet media theory. Okay. Now, the Soviet media theory is something like an authoritarian theory, but then the media there does not promote any monarch or any individual, but it promotes the communist ideology, and it is committed to work for the proletariat or the working classes to improve their condition, to situation, to educate them, and so on. So, okay. Now, how does the government assure that the media will always work for the cause of the proletariat and propagate the ideals of communism? It is by owning the media.
Okay.
So therefore, in Soviet Union, the ownership of the media is entirely with the government. It is controlled by the government, and it supposedly works for the betterment of the proletariat, of the working classes, and promotes the ideas of communism. Okay, so that is called the Soviet media theory, which was practiced in all the communist countries in Europe, and even now you will see the Soviet media theory being practiced in Cuba, North Korea, and Vietnam.
Is that so?
And to a certain extent in China.
All right.
Okay. So this is Soviet media theory. Then we have another kind of non-democratic theory, which is called the development theory. Right. Now, what's the development theory? Development theory is authoritarianism with a good cause, which supports the economic development and nation building efforts of impoverished society. Impoverished society means developing nations like India. So when India became independent, it was a fledgling democracy, all right? So the media, even though there was no overt government control, but the media was committed to promote this development. The media was committed to participate in nation building and give out positive stories, encouraging stories, and promote these first steps taken by Nehru towards development, like the building of dams and building of other institutions, scientific institutions, and so on and so forth. Okay, so although there was no government control as such, but there was this understanding that this is the function of the media, and the media should fulfill it. Now, we come to the democratic theories. All right. Now, of course, the most important democratic theory is the Libertarian Theory, which was initiated in America. All right. And it is based on the ideas of free market, or what is known as laissez-faire. Laissez-faire means free market. The term was coined by Adam Smith. Free market means it's an open marketplace, and everybody has equal rights to sell your own goods or ideas. So it is supposed to be, the press should offer a free marketplace of ideas. Means anybody can publish any thought or any idea. Okay, and then it is up to the readers, up to the audience, the people to accept or reject it. Okay, but everybody should have the right to publish any idea. And the libertarian theory sees people as rational human beings capable of judging a good idea from the bad. So they believe that the bad thing or the rotten apple will perish on its own, and it's only the strong ideas or the strong press or socially committed press who is doing good job, they will survive. Okay, so it is basically a survival of the fittest. But what is the pitfall of the libertarian theory? Pitfall is that the media is not just somebody's hobby. It is a business. So therefore, a news is not only a social responsibility, it is also a commodity. So therefore, all these privately owned media houses would always work for profit. They would do things in order to maximize their profit. All right. So therefore, in true libertarian theory, you cannot really reach out to the grassroots, because the grassroots are not the buyers of the media. They don't have buying power. All right. So a certain section of the society gets marginalized. All right. And news gets unnecessarily sensationalized. Sometimes trivial news is given priority over hardcore news, as we are seeing even in the Indian media. There can be so many examples.
Yes.
So these are the pitfalls of libertarian theory. You said it's an utopian. Actually, it is utopian because in practice, it does not give equal liberty to everybody to air their views or be a participant also in the media press. A large section of the society somehow gets marginalized because they do not have the buying power. Now, the social responsibility theory said that, okay, you have to make profit, we understand, but then media is the fourth estate. That means it is the fourth pillar of democracy.
Yes.
If the media doesn't fulfill its social responsibility, a democratic system is going to collapse. Okay, so therefore the media should bring a very objectively, not only bring the news to the people, but also analyze the news, interpret it so that people can understand and assimilate what is happening, and they can be politically aware of what is going on in the world. And all sections of the society have to be represented. Anything happening even in a remote corner has to be reported, and so on and so forth. So which is a modification of the libertarian theory.
Yes.
Now you may ask that, okay, you tell a journalist that this is your responsibility. Now how do you ensure that he fulfills the responsibility? So there are two ways. One is self-regulation or self-censorship, and the second thing is public pressure. Now, self-regulation means all media houses in their own interest will not bring out a news which is not verified or which is not objective, facts and figures, okay? Or will not behave in an irresponsible way, because then they will lose their credibility and thus their business.
Absolutely, yes.
So in their own interest, they will serve their social responsibility, because that will make them appear to be more responsible and thus, more credible in the eyes of the people. Okay, so that is how self-censorship works. And then, of course, if supposing some defamatory thing has come out, then there will be public pressure there will be letters to the editor and all kinds of, there may be somebody may file a case also against the media, and eventually it will be rectified.
Yes.
Okay. With the coming of technology, which is so easy to use, and the new media and so on, there have been other offshoots of this normative theory, and one such offshoot is the democratic participatory theory. Now, democratic participatory theory means that even the grassroots people have their right to participate in the process of development, have their right for their voices to be heard. It's not that they are only passive consumers of the media. They have to be media creators. So that's why these community radio stations, which operate in villages at the grassroots level, okay, where the people themselves manage the radio stations, they decide what is to be aired and how it is to be aired. Okay, so that is an example of community radio, is an example of grassroots media. All right, then some NGOs have taken the trouble to train grassroots women with videography, and then through the video camera, these women have told their own stories, and these films have traveled places, they have been shown in foreign film festivals and so on and so forth. Okay, so therefore so those are all examples of where the grassroots people have directly participated, they have been media creators. Okay, so that is exactly what this democratic participatory theory is. And with this coming of the new media, where you can post anything on Facebook, okay, and you can start your own blog and regularly go on updating it. So that is also a form of democratic participatory theory. All right. Some of the big media houses are promoting it by giving a slot to citizen journalists, like the CNN, IBN, citizen journalists. Okay. So that all these are examples of democratic participatory theory, where even the common man becomes the media creator. Okay. Another new idea is that public sphere theory. Now, public sphere is a space where people can come together and they can freely discuss their ideas, they can give public speeches, they can criticize the government and so on. Now, in every city, there is a space like this. In Calcutta, it is Esplanade East. In England, it is Covent Garden. In London, it's Covent Garden. In Delhi, it is Boat Club, where these political speeches happen, these rallies happen, okay, and the police cannot say anything. People are free to air their opinion. That's a public sphere. And the internet provides a virtual public sphere. Understood?
Yes.
So this public sphere, people come together, they're free to express their opinion. So the public sphere theory says that media should provide this public sphere. And then one of the last additions to this normative theory is the postmodern or constructionist theory. All right. Now, the postmodern theory is built on the motto, personal is political. That means I am an individual but I am also a political animal. All right. My personal story has to have a political color. It is not devoid of any political color. And the entire politics can be understood from this mosaic of these personal stories. Okay, so that's why recording oral histories have become so important. These women, particularly the women filmmakers, they make stories on their own lives because they feel that telling the story of your life is important. It's an important political step to make it public. So the personal and public are no longer separated. They have merged. Understood. On the internet also you will see so many personal stories are being freely shared. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, the blogs are an example of this.
Absolutely. Okay. So therefore that is the postmodern or constructionist theory.
Absolutely.
So the postmodern theory insists on a journalism open to the widest range of narrative styles and perspectives, especially those emerging from the margins of society. So here the quality of journalism is not important, that whether your writing style is very good or not, or whether the video qualities are very good or not, or whether the audio that you are broadcasting is very clean or not. But the fact that you are broadcasting and people are listening, that is important. Understood? The quality is not important, but who is broadcasting, who has the microphone in his hand, or who has the access to the media channel, that becomes important.
The story gets more importance and the person who is conveying it.
Exactly. Rather than the style and the finesse.
I see.
Got my point?
Absolutely.
All right. So now in conclusion, I would like to say that the four theories of the media, four theories of the press, when it was written, it was a child of the Cold War era. Today it is severely limited, and now the normative theories have gone beyond the four theories, and other modifications and offshoots of the normative theories have come up, which are catering to or which are in tune with the new media scenario and a more participatory democratic process. Thank you very much.